I have a disease. This is a two-stroke channel. We're doing two-stroke engine stuff. Currently, I'm filming with my cell phone, which is perfectly adequate. But not for me. My obsessive compulsive nature makes me need to film with this 1.8 times anamorphic 10-bit 422 ProRes. Completely unnecessary, but not really a disease. This camera is capable of filming in 12-bit RAW, so even better than the 10-bit. But my editing software can't decode the files. What makes this a disease is that it's not that I want to film in 12-bit RAW because it's better, I need to. It's unbearable. A disease. Welcome back to my garage. This might be a short one. I don't think you're in a position to complain though, as my previous one was 1.5 hours long. Lots of stuff to process after that trip to Germany. And having this in my hands and having learned about the challenges that needs to be overcome, it's hard to keep my brain from working on that. The rest of this engine isn't even here yet, so it's not what my brain should be working on. My brain should be working on a fix for fuel foaming from vibration on my PIP engine. Reduce vibrations directly instead of circumventing it. Adding a damper into the system. Jeffrey had an idea about the lever arm here, then a damper and the weight to calm down the high frequency vibrations. I was frantically googling yesterday trying to find some steering dampers or something that could be used local enough to me so that I could go get it. Couldn't find anything. Means that idea will have to wait. We'll play with carbs. I realize my videos are lacking in new viewer friendliness, but I can't explain what's going on every time. Home built engine, large crankcase volume, massive porting, special transmission system, struggling with vibrations from the engine vibrating. 50cc two-stroke. I've got a few options for vibration resistant carbs. There's this huge double pumper Tilotson carb set up for alcohol. Could be troublesome getting this to work with normal gas. Then there's this tiny Volbro. This is set up for normal pump gas. Should work. Then there's this Speedway carb without the float bowl. This worked really well coupled with my roots blower. Also on alcohol. There's a main jet and this metering circuit here replaces the needle valve you see in typical float carbs. I think this is worth a shot. It's crude but vibration resistant because there's no float bowl, and all I will have to do is to make a quick adapter plate to make this carb rubber fit my engine. Wouldn't be much harder to adapt one of these, and we might have to, but from experience these pumper carbs are not too fond of the large crankcase volume. They're not really pumping much. You normally see me pretty careless on the drill press. This time there's an existing hole really close to the one I'm drilling. My drill bit will break through and try to walk off its path. Not really doing this for safety, but to keep it on path. I'm also gonna add another clamp. This hole is larger than a hole in a reed valve. The offset is only at the bottom relative to the cylinder, not all the way around. That should be slightly better. And this is only for testing purposes. This carb is from the engine that was supposed to be in this frame. Currently a 250 main jet in there for alcohol. We'll replace that with a 108. That'll be our starting point. 108 main jet. This carb comes with a surge tank, a buffer for when running alcohol. I don't think that'll be needed with gas. We'll just hook it straight up to the tank. I'll preheat the coolant a little bit and we'll see how it behaves. My guess is very rich, as this is an alcohol carb. We installed a much smaller main jet, but the needle replacement circuit stuff going on in here is still a methanol deal. Could work though, we'll see. This is pretty much immune to vibration. There's no float bowl. The fuel is just going straight into the main jet. It's sensitive to fuel level in the tank though. Will go leaner when tank level is lower. Not a huge problem with methanol, as the tuning window is much wider. Will be a problem with gas, but for testing purposes. And this could easily be converted to remote float bowl. Having this connected to a remote float bowl, not connected to the vibrating engine. Last week I visited Germany and we were blazing down the Autobahn in Jan Scheffer's van, maybe 200-300 miles an hour. Suddenly something flew past us at probably twice our speed. You probably guessed what that was. NordVPN. NordVPN is a blazing fast VPN service, the fastest there is, which is great because you won't notice a difference from running NordVPN and not running a VPN at all. Why do I need NordVPN, I hear you saying? Well, to protect you on the internet. NordVPN creates an encrypted tunnel for your data to travel in, so no one can spy on it and steal your stuff. There's lots of shady business out there, and NordVPN can protect you against stuff like man-in-the-middle attacks, phishing, password attacks, DDoS, malware, malvertising, ransomware, etc. I particularly like how public Wi-Fi becomes safe, even though maybe it's a fake public Wi-Fi network. Still safe with NordVPN. Another great feature is, whilst all this security stuff is going on, you can pretend to be from wherever you want. You can log into their 5,000 plus servers around the world. Pretend you're from America or Indonesia, wherever. Comes in handy for ordering cheap plane tickets, watching stuff that's not available where you're currently at, but in some other country, downloading games, booking hotels, Netflix series, movies, etc. NordVPN has been by far the longest time supporters of this channel. Head to nordvpn.com/twostrokestuffing and take advantage of an exclusive offer. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you, NordVPN. Heat up the coolant, see how it behaves. There's a fuel valve directly after the main jet. I have to make sure to turn that on in the last second before I start the engine, and as fast as possible after it stalls or I stop the engine, otherwise it'll flood. I think it flooded immediately. It'll start and run with the fuel valve shut off. Let's try with a much smaller main jet. 88, that's the smallest one I've got, I think. Probably still too much. I'm not sure if you saw all of the last clip. I have an issue with my SD cards. I have two sets and I have to switch them halfway through the day. The camera starts recording to 1 when it's full, it switches over to the other. With these, that works fine. With the ones in there now, it seems to just cut when one is full, even though it says it started recording on the other one. Another side note, remember a couple of videos back when I was looking for needle and needle jet combos for this carb, and I couldn't find more than 4 needles and the jets already installed in my selection of carbs? Well, while looking for jets for this carb, I found my box of needles and needle jets. I thought it was strange I didn't have more than 4 needles, and I don't. I have a lot more. And my battery died. I'm not sure how much you saw of that clip either. We're gonna pull this identical carb apart and look at the metering circuit, see if we can lean it down enough to make it work on normal gas. And I found the needles for this carb, if you didn't see that either. I'll have to bring you in really close to show you what's going on here. This lever arm is operated by the slide. When the slide is fully down, it's sitting like this. And there's a plunger in here. And as the slide is moving up, that cracks open the metering circuit. There's a little bit of adjustability here, but I'm not sure I'll be able to make this lean enough for normal gas. I can make that plunger open less by extending this screw, but I'm not sure how much threads we have to work with here. I seem to remember from earlier testing that we're running out of thread pretty quickly. Or maybe not. Yeah, there it's... Now it's at the end of travel here. My microphone ran out of battery without me noticing. Lots of technical difficulties today. Anyways, this is the metering circuit in this car. Fuel is coming in from here, and this plunger opens up this slit here. This is far too crude for gas. I just remembered I'm running a backup microphone, which is a good thing, because I screwed up when switching batteries in my wireless system, and I'm wondering if it might be a good idea to call it a day. Come back stronger Monday. I have a cunning plan though, experimental of course. We need much finer metering than what this can provide by just opening that hole. First I was thinking about threading a main jet into here, and then running a normal needle through here. Attach it to this somehow. Then I realized I can modify an M4 bolt. Use that in place of this, make it longer and taper it like a needle. Then I realized I won't have to taper it. I can do like Electron and just flatten it on one side. Slight problem, it's too long for me to thread it into this. It needs to be inserted first and then threaded this way. That's a problem. I'll cut it the absolute minimum amount needed to get it in there. We'll see how it works. This should work fine. Adjusting the needle leaner. I don't think it's long enough. It won't stay like this because it's too short and it's outside that pinching zone of that barrel thing. But for testing purposes, we'll make a new needle with thicker taper. I have an idea. Let's lower the fuel pressure by lowering the tank. I'll put it on my chair up here and we'll see how it behaves. That's actually working surprisingly well. I could feel it was much more eager to rev now versus with the float carb. Problem with vibrations and the float carb is that the fuel starts foaming and then the float loses its buoyancy because it's mostly air, not much fuel in the bowl. It drops down and then fuel starts pouring into the carb. Float needle is always open because the float is sitting at the bottom or close to it or vibrating up and down. It starts dumping fuel into the carb at high RPM. That's exactly what this carb is doing all the time, but in a more controlled manner. And it seems to be working with that low tank. There's no point in burning out the clutch trying to clutch it out. First gear is already too high. Maybe we should go back to chain drive. Ditch the variator. There's no work involved. It's just replacing the pulleys with a chain drive. I don't have time for that today. I might post this video regardless because I want to get back to my normal schedule Fridays, or I'll wait. It's now Tuesday. The technical difficulties with audio and picture had my OCD go completely haywire throughout the weekend. Too much. Yesterday I went out and bought some medicine. As you noticed, I'm already running this microphone as a backup for my wireless system. I'm now also running this external recorder recording onto a hard drive as a backup for my internal recording in camera, and I'm running this big hunking battery to power everything. If this fails, I've got the other batteries to power everything separately. Redundancy. And I've 3D printed some filter trays for my matte box. I'm using anamorphic lenses and they're hopeless for close focus. I need these diopters, but they're really hard to get screwed onto the lens. They always want to get cross-threaded. So this is much easier. You can just drop them in here. This is nice for all my overhead lights, so the footage won't get washed out in certain directions. Making this shorter would have been a walk in the park if it weren't for that I don't have any 219 master links. And I can't find any locally, of course. I'll have to use this BMX chain tool, which is already broken from doing stuff like this. Let's hope it works. I'm not 1000% sure if tension in the chain like this is a good idea. Also not so sure if this axial self-alignment is a good idea. We'll see. The ratio should be low enough now so that we can actually test the engine with the roller engaged. We'll see. We'll see what kind of issues this has in store for us next. We'll see. I'll heat up the coolant and a first test. beautiful work. The engine was jumping dangerously back and forth though. We'll have to restrain it with a cable or something. And it's running far too rich at full throttle. Could make a fatter metering rod, but first let's try moving the tank even lower. About one tank lower. Running a little bit lean, it seems. Let's raise the tank a smidge. About half a tank level. Even I can see how ridiculous this is. Lowering and raising the tank while the bike is running to adjust the mixture. This has the potential to work great, but with a lot of adjustments and probably a remote float bowl. Let's try the pumper carb, the big one first. One of the Imperial sizes I know I haven't got a key for. Again, this is an alcohol carb. I've turned the high speed and low speed down to half a turn out. Let's hope that works. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. It's running better than ever with that carb. I'm gonna take it apart, clean it properly, and start playing with pop-off pressure and the needles and stuff next week. And I think we're heading somewhere. Finally. See you next time.